Tea! Had to get my tea. Hey everybody, it's Beck from the Beckabroad vlog/blog series. And if you remember, the last video I made was about how I got my job in Korea. But if you want to know how you can get a job in Korea, this is the video for you. Now, different schools and situations and recruiting agencies require different things. So I'm going to keep some of these steps kind of general, or at least tell you what was required of me, because I can't speak for every single situation you might face, but here are the general things you have to do. So yes, obviously the first step is to choose a school. You have to choose kind of where you want to teach and what kind of school you want to teach in, either private or public school. I chose to teach in South Korea, so the information I have is more geared towards South Korea, how to get a job there. But there are obviously many other places you can teach in. You could teach in China, you could teach in Japan, or you could teach somewhere in the Middle East. So there are other opportunities out there, but I don't know how the process works for those countries, so this video is more about South Korea. Now really the first decision you have to make is, do you want to teach private school or public school? And there are several factors to deciding that. There are pros and cons to both. So I'm just kind of going to go down a list. If I can figure out how to put words on the screen, I'll do that. I have not figured that out yet. My video editing skills are not up to par, so we'll see. So the first thing I think to talk about is reliability. Is your job going to be reliable? And from everything I've read, public school is more reliable if you want to make sure that you keep your job, because in public school you're hired by the government, and in private school you're obviously hired by basically a business, a company. So there are many things that can kind of go wrong with private school, whereas in public school you know you have a reliable job, you know you're getting paid regularly by the government. I've heard some horror stories about private school where people lost their job right before the end of the contract, because at the end of the contract the private school is required to pay them like an extra bonus, and sometimes the private school will just fire them right before that for just out of the blue, so they don't have to pay them that extra bonus. So if you want to teach at a private school, definitely do your research on that school and see what their track record with teachers has been in the past. Also, another thing to consider with private schools is it's an extremely competitive market out there. So private schools are going out of business and shooting up everywhere, like all the time. You want to make sure that you do research on that private school that you're interested in to make sure they've been settled, been in business for many years, and that they're doing well. They have lots of teachers, they have lots of students. You need to look out for things like classroom size, if classroom size is dwindling, if they've only been in business a few years, that's probably not a very good sign. If they don't have very many teachers, just things like that. Now, I'm actually teaching at a private school, and I did my research on the school, and I feel confident that I made a good decision because my school has been in business for a really long time, and it's actually a large chain of private schools, so you know that they're getting steady funding, and they have lots of students and lots of teachers. And also the teachers from America or Canada or whatever who are teaching there, they've renewed their contracts several times. The girl that I was talking to, she's been working there for 3 years, which it must be a good job. But if you just want to be absolutely sure that you get a job that's reliable, you might want to look into public school. On the other hand, there are many other pluses to private schools. For example, the pay. The pay is generally better. You will probably have a lower salary if you work in a public school. It's generally around like 2.1 million won a month, which is About the equivalent of a beginning teacher's pay in the US, at least in the districts where I am right now. That's about how much it is. If you go into private school, it'll probably... Part of the reason I chose my job is they are paying me very well. So, yeah, if you want to get paid well, private school might be the way to go. But of course, any job you take here, you're probably going to save money because cost of living is pretty low. You know, you're going to be able to start paying off those student loans and stuff. So it's a good deal any way you go. Another thing to consider is work hours. In public school, you're going to have those general standard work hours. And in private school, it's going to be a little bit more than that, most likely. I'm not going to lie, I work from 9 to 7:30, so give and take. It's really just depends on what your priorities are. And with private school, of course, you're going to be working like all year round. Like you're not going to have a summer break. Actually, I think in public school in Korea, you don't really have a summer break either. I've heard that people have to desk sit in the summer. So there'll be like no students, but you're still there in the classroom, just sitting there. So I don't think that's like every day, but you have to like take turns with other teachers or something like that. I'm sorry if I'm wrong about this. If I'm wrong and other people have better information, then please feel free to comment. But this is just from all the research I've done, which is quite a bit. This is what I know. I keep being freaked out because there's like this shadow on the wall on the ceiling that looks like my hair is sticking out, but it's not. It's just the shadow. What was I talking about? Ooh, placement is a huge one. So if you are going with public school, you might not get to decide where you're placed. You can kind of choose the general location because you choose like a district. You choose, do I teach in Gepic or Epic? And so Gepic is, oh, I don't remember what it stands for. That's really sad. No, it's something English program in Korea. That's the Epic part. I don't really remember what the G stands for, but it has to do with the Seoul area. So you choose Gepic and you get like the Seoul area, like the suburbs. You choose Epic and you could be placed anywhere in the rest of the country. I used to know all this, but then I went with private school, so I was like, okay, just forget that. I don't have to worry about it anymore. But there's another district too, which is Seoul. You have the Seoul district, you have the Seoul suburbs district, and you have the rest of Korea. And so you have a little bit of control there, but they will place you anywhere within the district that you choose, that you apply for, okay? You know, there's just a lot less control there. It seems like they'll be pretty understanding. They'll say, would you like to be placed in a small town, middle town, a large town, and they'll try to accommodate your preferences. But when it comes down to it, you're just gonna not have as much control. Whereas with private school, you will be able to choose exactly where you go. Another thing to consider is how long it's gonna take for you to apply and get a job. With private school, you could literally get a job probably any time of the year, okay? I, for one, was ready to get a job kind of as soon as possible. So I went with, that's another reason I went with private school, because I knew I would get placed sooner than public school. And also the application process for private school is a lot easier. With public school, you have to like fill out a lot more paperwork. I mean, the benefit of that is it's more secure. You know you have a solid contract. With private school, the contract isn't really, it's not really a legally binding thing, okay? The contract is basically a handshake saying, I'll do my thing and you do your thing. We're gonna agree that this is gonna work out together. But I've also heard horror stories where the employer didn't honor the contract. But there's a lot of trust that goes into working at a private school. But as long as you do your research, like I keep saying, private school could be amazing for you. Yeah, that's kind of the general information I have on private versus public school. If you have more questions or whatever, you can always contact me. This is just kind of the first part of probably 2 or 3 more videos that will be about the process of getting a teaching job in Korea. You can follow me on Twitter because I now have Twitter, and I tweet whenever I have a new video or blog. You can check out my blog, the link is below. Please comment if you have any rants you want to get out, or questions, words of encouragement. If you're a family member watching this, you know, I'd always like to hear from you. So yeah, I've been filming for 30 minutes, so I'm gonna cut it off now and wish you all a good day. Thank you for watching, and remember to like or subscribe. Okay, do it. If you're impatient and you're like, just go to Korea already so we can learn more about you actually being in Korea. Okay, I'm still in the US, you guys, I'm sorry, but I will be there in 2 weeks, and I don't know how things are going to work out at first, if I'll have time to film or not, but I'll really try to, like the first night I'm there, I'll try to make a short video and tell you, you know, about that day and my first impressions and everything, so be looking forward to that. Love you guys. 안녕히 가세요.